My first camera was a box camera, which is you see up on the wall up there, and it is a camera that it controlled me wherever it went. I went, and wherever I went, it went. There was a lot going on in Kentucky in terms of the strip mine bills being legislated, and I found out that I had a lot to say about that. It appeared in the New York Times and Time magazine, and it also appeared in the other publications I would service. It'd be a slow day when I couldn't get a photograph into the Associated Press, United Press International, the New York Times, and the Courier Journal. And so I would get these photographs placed in these publications, and it gave me a chance to really get my feet and hands involved in the issues of the social issues of the time. Well, the most important project I ever did, probably besides the strip mining, was my Aunt Beck was in a nursing home. She was being neglected, and she had developed bed sores. And so I, for some reason, was able to get into her room and show the things that were going on around her, even though I was shocked that they let me in. But since they did let me in, I got these photographs, and it was just a situation where I had the opportunity to get these pictures that were just, well, like for instance, I went to a doctor in Louisville, that Arnold Belker, to talk about this thing with my aunt, and Arnold, took the information that I had gleaned and told me that he'd like to use it to put in the files to be used for things later on down the road, which I did when I was down the road, so to speak. I was able to photograph the comings and goings of the nursing home, and I did a cover story on the life and death of my Aunt Beck, and it gave me a chance to get into some place I never would have gotten otherwise. Well, the chairmaker was just Chester Cornett was his name, and he was just a real unique guy, and he offered me a completely unique vision of himself. Couldn't spell correctly, and left his mark on everything he touched. He built handmade chairs out of just wooden handmade chairs, and these chairs would sell for thousands of dollars. He would take the time to show me how he made them. I encountered him because I had been given an assignment by my design instructor at the University of Louisville, and I went all over the state of Kentucky, and there was a book that I produced called The Commonwealth and Community, which was the Commonwealth of Kentucky and the community it surrounded. I worked for Post for 5 years, and then and during that time, during the 5 years, I was called up by the military during the Pueblo crisis. The military gave me the opportunity to do a lot of things I never would have ever gotten to do. The last flight of airplanes was sent off from the base, Itazuki Air Base in Japan. And this last flight was the flight that airplane crashed in front of me, and it just when it crashed in front of me, it didn't hurt anybody. And Bill Cyber, the pilot, I went to the hospital to see how he was doing that night because he was the person flying the plane, but there was no, everything worked out beautifully. In fact, I saw Bill Cyber that night, and I thanked him for the crash. It gave me a chance to get a action picture I'd been looking for, and it really made me look good, and I didn't do anything more with it than that. And then I received the Air Force Commendation Medal for my my on the scene coverage of the plane crash. Well, I did a series on vets in general and how they were affected by the war. And what you read today is pretty much what happened then. Yeah, the syndrome, was attacking those vets then the same way they and so like Time Magazine saw my pictures of the Vietnam vets. I worked on it for about 18 months, and it gave me the opportunity to really see the vets like a step removed, because these guys were going through they were going through the war then that I had experienced when I was going through my work. Right, James Baldwin had come to Bowling Green, Ohio, and I had been in Bowling Green, Ohio, sent there by the by People magazine. Jim Baldwin was just a very unique person who gave me the opportunity to look at a world-renowned author. I never realized the Beatles were the Beatles. I was assigned to photograph the Beatles by the Cincinnati Post, and sure enough, they gave me the opportunity to be with them, and I could talk with them, but didn't as much as I was able to just be with them. I wasn't aware of how important it was that I was photographing these people doing what they were doing, and seeing this, and seeing the people's reactions to that over the years gave me the opportunity to be a part of history. Oh, I think photography is an art for sure, and I think that the Beatles was an art form to be explored, but I was able to more or less just stand back from it and at the same time get a slice of it. My work was a lot of happenstance. A lot of things happened just because I was at the right place at the right time, and then that was one of the reasons that I was able to come up with things that I came up with. I never ever figured out what an artist was. No, I don't consider myself as an artist as much as I consider myself as a human being who had the opportunity to be at the right place at the right time. Well, one of the things I did that I enjoyed the most was this working on it with an autistic child that I had studied up on the autistic child and what the autism was about, and so I had kind of a mixed feeling because people at my paper didn't like the fact that I was doing the work I was doing, which was making me look good because I did great work of ordinary people. Larry Flint was a very malleable person, a person who was happy to do whatever I wanted because he was getting publicity for himself. And so one picture I know I took of him was a picture of him holding a Bible in one hand with his arm around it, a picture of Christ in the other. Salem, Missouri, population 5,000, 50 Baptist churches. It's on the banks of the Missouri River. And it's where the Missouri Workshop, which is one of the major workshops in photojournalism, takes place. Your work is sequenced and put together in a way that you check in a hotel room or motel room, and you have a chance to live in the community of the Missouri Workshop and the University of Missouri, and then later on you get the chance to see that all come to fruition. I found this teenage girl she was 17, going on 70, and she just knew all about life. And I had my, and the type of thing was, it was such a beautiful series of work that, that Howard Chapnick, who I mentioned before, he had told me he thought he could sell it around the world. I got credit for the workshop by two people, Bob Gilka, the National Geographic Director of Photography, and also by Angus McDougall, who was the workshop director. And because of the fact that these people liked my work so much, they gave me a prize, a corncob pipe, and that was the way that they did things in Missouri then. Woodland Cemetery in Dayton, Ohio, gave me the opportunity to photograph the cemetery and all parts of it thereof, and I was able to photograph that without realizing that this was a major part of my photographic life. I'm complete,
Photography.
Right. I feel very fortunate that I have been okayed by the powers that be to get the images I got, and that I didn't lose anything along the way.